Hey everyone, welcome to Reality TV News Update, the place where we bring you the latest updates, fun moments, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't want to miss. A wise contestant with ponytail once stated that iron sharpens iron. After 3 unsuccessful Survivor crown attempts, that contestant, Benjamin Coach Wade, believes he has finally sharpened his game and will finally slay the game when he hits the beach for Survivor 50, which premieres on CBS on February 25. Coach transformed into an eccentric cartoon character in his first 2 appearances, Tocantins and Heroes vs. Villains, to a legitimate powerhouse who made it all the way to the end of South Pacific, where a jury of peers he burned along the way awarded the $1 million to Sophie Clark instead. Of course, Coach remains Coach, a true reality TV renaissance man, as stories of his Survivor 50 preseason antics have already become the stuff of legend. However, Coach, who is 54 years old, insists that he has learned from his mistakes and is prepared to take on a brand new persona, the Tide Walker, for his 4th attempt at winning the championship. Who or what is the Tide Walker? Coach told us when he talked to Entertainment Weekly in Fiji a few days before Survivor 50, but we still don't know. But one thing we do know is that you have come to the right place if you want a deep-dive interview with a legend of Survivor who calls himself a selfish egomaniac who almost went off the deep end for what he mistakenly perceived as preferential treatment from Mike White and openly brags about ignoring his non-disclosure agreement. You have come to the right place if you want a deep-dive interview with a legend of Survivor who calls himself a selfish egomaniac who almost went off the deep end for what he mistakenly perceived as preferential treatment from Mike White and openly brags about ignoring his non-disclosure agreement. He might also have some new information about a notorious jury house rock band. Consider yourself slayed. This is one of 24 in-depth, in-person interviews with Survivor 50 cast members. Links to the other interviews will be posted at the bottom of this article as they become available. Entertainment Weekly. Since your last appearance on Survivor, what have you been up to? Benjamin Coach Wade. I am a man who is married. I have stopped coaching college soccer. Now I'm content to coach all my kids' sports teams, and I am actually a music teacher now. Having 3 kids, getting married, starting a new job, learning a new skill, and playing this game in a new way are the new things in my life. Why are you here, Coach? Great question. I feel as though I have repeatedly said no. It was difficult to say yes at this time, but it felt right. About a week before being officially asked to do so, a month earlier, I called executive producer Matt Van Wagenen and said, "I don't think I'm going to do this, man. At home, there is simply too much on my shoulders." He said, "You're going to regret it the rest of your life. I know you. It's your choice, man. I'll support anything." And I really appreciate him saying that. In my life, that fear of regret is a major motivator. Even though I rarely live with regret, it gnaws at my subconscious and tells me lies when I do. Should have done this, could have done this, despite the fact that I rarely experience regret. The main regret was that I was not here. I'm in such a different place now than I was last time, 13 years ago, that I want to share that with the world. I'm so happy. Every morning when I get up, all I can think is, God, how could you actually bless me with this kind of life? I am not deserving of it. I certainly wasn't a great man when I was on Survivor, egomaniac, selfish, and wanted to lead from the top. And so that was another part of it, is just to kind of share that message with the world, those fundamental truths that I feel like I have discovered. Additionally, I desire victory. I'm out here to win this time. I've never thought that way either. I'm going to play the game. I'm going to try to win. Certainly, that is one of the 3 reasons I'm here. You claim that you were a different man when you played the last time. When you think back on those seasons, what do you find lacking? The first season was a wonderful opportunity to examine yourself, as Survivor does if you allow it to, and ask, oh man, am I really that arrogant ass? I mean, I can't be that arrogant, right? And to say, let me temper that down a little bit and not take myself so seriously. That's a turnoff. I may have a loyal core, but I must be turning people off, and I am certain that I still am. The second time taught me the most valuable lesson, man. Don't care what other people think or say about you. And it happened after I was watching that season, and I thought, I don't care henceforth what other people say or think about me. Third season, that was the softening of everybody's perception of me. I'm thankful for that, but I was extremely self-centered. I didn't have a wife. I was living for myself. I really believed that if I could win enough soccer championships, start enough symphonies, and be the best at everything I did, my life would be meaningful. I would leave a wonderful legacy. And that's just not true. Nobody cares what I did on the soccer field anymore. I am grateful for the fact that I undoubtedly impacted a few lives. Nobody talks about those days anymore. However, they will talk about the lives of my children as well as the music program that I am currently establishing and the ways in which it is changing a community. We are all entangled in that generational legacy, not just personal bulls. And so that's something that is very different about me now. So how does that change the way you play? As a result, I used to be very rigid and put honor and integrity in narrow categories. At times, it was really honest. I did pass up $1 million. Cochran and Edna came to me and said, "Hey, you won the game. Congratulations. We'll never flip on you. Just take us to the end." Edna said, "I'm a coattail rider." And Cochran said, "I'm a flipper. They won't vote for me." And at the end of the day, I turned down $1 million to stick with my word and say, no, I gave these 5 a promise, and I gave these 2 a promise that we'd make it to the final 3. I did that on day 1, and it happened. However, my lack of ownership was hypocritical, and that is my one game-related regret. I didn't simply say, "Hey, you know what, guys? I did lie to you." I needed to admit that I was dishonest when you were voted out, but I wasn't. Therefore, my primary goal this time around is to be fluid. I absolutely love the routine of putting myself at the bottom of the totem pole each morning. When I'm the one who packs lunches, goes shopping, works all day, comes home and starts making dinner, I don't feel any resentment. I cook dinner every night, and I love doing that, and so there's no resentment there. But I lead from the bottom. And the only way I used to know how to lead, which is really cool because I'm open about what I do in real life, college soccer coach, church pastor, people called it a cult the third time around. It wasn't, but we have that in common. So I led a little bit by talking about religion. And this time I'm going to lead from the bottom, which I am able to do and feel comfortable doing. There's a really cool term in Portuguese that the soccer players used to tell me, and it's the malandro. And the malandro is the guy that is not the man, but he makes everybody around him be the man. I want to be that then. I want to lead occasionally from the bottom, rather than always from the top. I need to be able to move easily. I want to go up to people who voted against my wishes in tribal council and be their friend. That's the game today. It is a much softer game, and I think that they appreciate authenticity now more than ever, and so I'd like to use that to my advantage with the honorable people. Joe did a service to me in '48 when he actually played that game with the values that I hold dear, but I think that sets the table for an alliance of me and Colby and Joe and maybe Jonathan and Stephanie, but that's not going to get me far. There is an ancient Chinese proverb that says, "A snake that does not shed its own skin must die," and I won't make it to the end if I don't let go of the scars from my previous misdeeds. Therefore, I must adjust and choose people like Aubrey, Camilla, or even Kyle. The winners don't scare me. I've played with winners before. I've got to play with people that I wouldn't normally align with. Weaker, if you say physically, but stronger strategically. My weakness has always been that, and that was one thing that really helped me in the last time around was being with Sophie. People don't give her enough credit. I know that I get messages every single day saying things like, "You should have won South Pacific, blah, blah, blah," but Sophie was a very underrated player, and without her, I wouldn't have been able to finish the game. She was a great strategist that sharpened daily with our rhetoric. Your arc on Survivor South Pacific is so fascinating. You are regarded as an extremely eccentric character, but when you enter, you control the situation, and at the end, you are denied. I know you're a competitive guy, so how does that loss sit with you? The day after I lost South Pacific, I started playing this game. I didn't think I was going to come back, but in the chance that I was going to come back here, every single interview I've ever given, I've sandbagged it, saying I can't win this game, while at the same time thinking about the mistakes that I made and how I could play this game differently. I've never stopped playing. I'm irritated by most people. I don't like Boston Rob and any of these people where this has become their identity. Their whole identity is caught up in this bullshit. So I don't like most people, but I talk to all of them because I know that it's going to give me a
Carolyn with a cameo. She was unknown to me. I didn't watch her season. She actually said, "You've got to meet Ben Katzman." I wrote her the cheapest song I've ever written for $69. He's going to be on next season. I also said, I don't like meeting new people. However, she gave me his number. We began chatting. I realized that he was a really cool guy. Additionally, he removed me from the mountain on which I live. I met Dee in his apartment with Wendell. Didn't even know who she was. I met Kyle when he signed his Bills jersey for him at one of his shows. Charlie introduced me to him. You're the only one that knows this. Nobody else knows this. So I started putting my fingers in, and it seems a little bit predestined that this could be my shot to do it. Therefore, it's really cool that I now have enough people to begin working with people you might not have thought I would initially. The Coach, the Dragon Slayer, and the Zen Slayer have all been around. For the 51st season, what will be your nickname? I've come up with a bunch of nicknames for people. I don't want to do the Arthurian legends stuff. I want to start picking random things, like Japanese mythology and possibly some Dungeons and Dragons. In the beginning, I've got to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, and that is tattooed on my arm as far as the prophecy of the tribe of Benjamin. Please don't call me that. Just joking. I mean, it is, though. At first, I want to pretend to be a wolf dressed as a sheep before letting the wolf out. And the timing of that is impeccable, and it'll determine whether I win or not. But studying these things, there's this water druid that's called the Tide Walker, and that's the person that can move and flow with the tide. Additionally, when they must maneuver around or remove obstacles, they do so gently. And my mantra for this game is to hide behind the shield while I'm sharpening my sword in silence. In the past, I would declare war openly. Here's my sword! It's the opposite of that. I have attempted to wage war with a pure heart, but I have not acknowledged that I was doing so. So those are two mantras that I think are really close to my heart, that I want to play the game like that. To hide behind the shield at times, and to sharpen the blade in silence, and to make war, but with a clean heart, and at the same time admitting that I'm making war. The Tide Walker, perhaps. In order to deliver some confessional gems, have you been studying out of your famous quote book while you were here? You better believe it, man. Pay attention. I'm not smart. I can talk and write pretty well, but man, I'm not smart. However, you can rest assured that I will present myself as intelligent and will prepare a number of quotes. What's your biggest weakness heading into this game as Coach 4.0? One weakness is not being able to read people. In real life, I'm so damn good at it. But here, I just give people too much doubt. And so I'm not going to go off in camp. Tyson told me after Winners at War, do not go do Tai Chi, which I will not do. I will comply with the advice not to use nicknames. But he said just sit at camp. Don't go off. Allow people to approach you. I've never been good at reading the room because, to be honest, Dalton, there's a world out here of which the camera's on me, and I want to perform for it because I'm a performer. As a result, I don't look at the camp stuff. I need to clear my head and look around to see who is talking to whom, and these people give you clues all the time. I'm implying that there is no idle planting, but by golly, if I'm walking this way and the cameraman stops following me, and then I turn back the other way and they start following me, then there must be an idol there. And it kind of dawned on me a little bit with questions that Jeff asked and questions that they're asking me in confessional interviews. And I was good at picking up on that a little bit the last time. But if a group of people are talking and they start saying something really strategic, they get swarmed by cameras. But if they are like, oh, Dalton, let me tell you about my childhood, the cameras are just like, whatever. Therefore, I must acknowledge that. And if there are 4 people talking down to the beach, I gotta get in and know what they're doing. Not in an intrusive way. So how much pre-gaming did you do, Coach? It's a question for all the returning player seasons with everyone DMing and texting and what have you. Some of the old schoolers would not have flown with this shit here at Ponderosa. They would have been like, fuck this, we're talking. They would have shushed us then. It was a war at times. Yesterday, I said out loud to the handler, has anybody ever just gone fucking crazy and just run out of the tent? We were there for 11 or 12 hours. Man, this is not fun. Additionally, I struggled to remain still. I feel like I'm about ready to just walk out of the tent. and everybody just had their head down, their little lambs, and I was looking at everybody. There were times when we were on seasons, and me and Boston Rob and Tyson, we'd be like, fuck that, get the door open, we gotta go pee, this is nonsense. It's possible that they are being helpful, but I'm aware that there is significantly more networking. Therefore, one wonders, what are they really doing? Are they obeying the rules? Are they not? I did a small amount of pre-gaming. I reached out to Colby and I just said, hey, let's go out there and play honorably. I had met Jonathan through Mike a while back, and I just said, let's do it if you want to do it. Therefore, there was not much at all. One day, Siri came after me, and I asked, hey, legend, what's up? And she was like, yo, coach, what's up? And so really, that's kind of the extent of it. Was there a lot of pre-gaming before Heroes versus Villains? And if so, did it end up matching up to what actually happened when you guys got out there? It was a failure. I didn't play with anybody. I was on the wrong tribe. People can say what they want about Coach's game and that I've never really been a good player, but Heroes versus Villains, it's possible, were completely different. Pre-game, Colby was wetting himself to play with me. I spoke with Rupert. I know that Stephanie was wanting to play with me. I spoke to 2 or 3 Heroes tribe members who were as desperate as JT, despite the fact that he was full of shit. JT, on the other hand, said, Coach, it's your time to win, man. Let's get you to the end. And I don't believe that, but I believe that he was sincere in seeing me as a real person. Tom Westman was another one. He said, I don't want a pregame, but by golly, Coach, we see it the same way. And I hid behind a wall and talked to Rupert. The Heroes tribe, therefore, was subject to this enormous contingency. And in my deluded mind, I think if I would have been on Winners at War, I think that the old school would look so much more secure. I think I could have managed a better job than Boston Rob trying to bully everybody into submission. So I essentially backed the wrong horse. Randy came up to me at the finale of Token Teens and said, if we make an alliance, nobody would know about it. Tyson flew out to my house and we trained together. But my mistake that I made in Heroes versus Villains is I always let Tyson speak to Courtney and Boston Rob speak to Sandra. So this time around, I want to pollinate everybody. I made a big mistake with Heroes and Villains. I didn't make that mistake in South Pacific, and I won't make that mistake here. I want to meet people where they're at. I want to push it to new heights, and I've prepared opening introductions for everybody. Almost like when you're that single guy and you're unsure what to say when you're meeting a girl at a club and you've rehearsed a few lines beforehand. Hit me with some examples. Take Camilla, for instance. I just want to tell her thank you. I want to tell her thank you for keeping me relevant and for being that person that's still keeping the hope of the Dragon Slayer alive. Joe, I want to tell him thank you for setting the table and preaching about qualities that I hold near and dear to my heart. I love it when people say, oh, I don't watch Survivor, like Mike White. Neither did I when I first was on the show. So for Mike, hey man, I don't care too much about the White Lotus. I'm certainly not trying to be here to get on that show. Wink, wink, nod, nod. I would have chosen a cameo in my head, but in reality, I would have said, Mike, what I am here for is fun, and you're the only person out here, really, that has come out here and been like a child again, and been true to the heart, and running around just trying to have fun. I want to have a good time with you. What do you believe the other players here think of you? If you asked that question 10 years ago, people would have said, it's a little bit of a joke, even with South Pacific, according to me. But I don't think that they're saying that today. And I was at Ben Katzman's apartment in Miami, and Dee and Wendell were there, and Wendell said, these new school people love you. In casting, they mention you. They truly respect you. Maybe a little bit of it was kissing my arse, but legends don't come about in a single season. That is, unless you do the exile thing, walk around with a dragon cane and a fake limp, call yourself the Dragon Slayer, and make up Japanese samurai sayings, like I did. Maybe you kind of become a legend after one season, but usually it takes 2 to solidify somebody's legacy. Therefore, there are very few legends here. I know that Siri is cool and that Jeff loves her, but what else will she bring this time that she hasn't already? What will Ozzy bring that he hasn't? What will Colby bring that he hasn't? What's Stephanie gonna bring that she hasn't?